Welcome, welcome to Game Over Edmonton. The Edmonton Oilers have put themselves in a position that is enviable for any team at this stage of the playoffs. They are one win away from the Stanley Cup final. They have two chances to do it. Really excellent performance tonight. Put themselves in a great situation here. I'm here with Graham Mosimann. It's going to be a fun one here. It's going to be a lot of talk about the Oilers. But before we get into the Oilers, got to mention that tip from Wyatt Johnston tonight. That was incredible.
I just the Dallas Stars find these players in the weirdest of places, and it's infuriating, and I'm jealous. Because goodness gracious, Wyatt Johnston has I don't it almost looked like when Joe Pavelski was kind of at his prime, because he always had this great way of tilting the stick and finding some magic portal to teleport a puck through that shouldn't work. I mean, great for Wyatt Johnston to do it, because Joe Pavelski's been nowhere this whole series, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I can imagine you would be, Graham.
I'm fully unbiased. I am an unbiased watcher of this hockey team.
Yeah, I gotta say, that was some pinball wizard stuff from Wyatt Johnston to turn the stick like that and kind of get it to bumper off the inside, the top of the blade in. Really incredible. But I swear, we're going to talk almost the entire show about the Oilers side of things, because this is an Oilers show. But before we get too heavy into it, we got to tell you that Game Over Edmonton will not be broadcasting from this channel next season when we do our official launch. There is a Game Over Edmonton YouTube channel that will host all of that content on its own. Click on the Game Over Network channel below this video. Scroll on down the page past all the other stuff that's on there to our featured channels section, where you can find Game Over Edmonton, which you can click on, hit the subscribe button, and then, YouTube has to make it complicated. Click the drop-down menu, hit the subscribe bell thing, the notification bell, so you'll actually get notified when we post new stuff and go live, and enjoy, because we've got a lot of cool stuff coming this upcoming season. It's going to be different than I think you've ever seen anyone else do in hockey media. So we're going to be doing very different style of coverage going forward. It's going to be interesting and it's going to be fun. So I hope you come with us and support us, because we're going to need a lot of it as a new young media company in a media atmosphere that, I don't know if you know this, Graham, it's not great in our industry.
I mean, as someone that works in the quote mainstream media for his day job, everything's peachy clean. I don't know what you're talking about. It's great all the time. Sunshine and rainbows.
Nobody's ever getting laid off. No companies own almost everything and continue to lay people off just to boost their profits in their next quarter. Nothing like that's happening in media.
I will say I'm very happy to work for a company that's doing some very good things as a broadcast partner of the Edmonton Oilers.
Perfect. There you go. Some of them are good. Not all of them, but some of them are good. All right. We got lots to talk about tonight, because this Edmonton Oilers team, it seemed like they took a bit of a hit in Game 3 and how that turned out. And since then, they've been dynamite.
So there's this fascinating thing about this Oilers team that I think has been more prescient this year than any other year that I've watched them play in the kind of Connor McDavid era. And this particular team, really much starting kind of when the wheels completely fell off the bus on this team first started going, that season opening loss against Vancouver. Things need to get bad, and sometimes they need to get very bad before they're going to start to get good again. It's almost like every few games they need to relearn the lesson of, oh, wait, we're actually good defensively when we want to be? What foul magic is this? And then when that light bulb seems to go off, it's okay, tighten up. We knock down passes like it's nobody's business. You really focus on not making those kind of death passes that you would see at times in the Canucks series, and especially in game 2 and 3 in this series, where it was just, oh, let's just lob it up the middle. I think Dylan Holloway, when he had that kind of shot later on in the game, was a great example. I think a lot of times a lot of players would go, oh, I have an open lane of the goalie. Even with Jake Ottinger, let's just try to wire it somewhere. And then, well, Jake Ottinger's Jake Ottinger. He's going to knock that rebound somewhere advantageous, or the puck's going to miss completely. So what's Dylan Holloway do when you try to kill clock? Lump it into his chest. You already have 3 goals. You don't need more. Take more time off the clock. And that's something that I don't think this Oilers team has done probably ever in the time that in this era of the team. And it is so weird and wonderful to watch.
Yeah, just closing things down, and we're gonna talk a lot about Jeff's or not story, not Jeff Skinner, Stuart Skinner.
Do you like Jeff Skinner though? That guy's like, what a
He's
career arc for him. Stuart Skinner's been unbelievable.
ever since Jeff Skinner decided to do like a little double axle to get away from a check in like his rookie year, I was like, this guy, he's special. He's something special. But we will talk about Stu Skinner in the next segment. But we're gonna save that for now because I feel like the goaltending always deserves its own segment. But McDavid, I wanted to talk about tonight because I don't know if you've seen the stats on this one, Graham, but McDavid, while he was on the ice, the Oilers had a ridiculous 90.8% control of expected goals, which is essentially a formula that shows like where shots come from and what their expected conversion rate is based on what type of shot, the angle, all that kind of stuff. And that is completely absurd for any player. And
Oh, it's video.
especially
It's a video game number. It is a video game number with NHL 24 set on rookie.
and it's not like he's getting the matchups that the Oilers want on the road. Like,
Well, yeah, I will say I think Dallas, their defense is starting to show some real holes. Like Chris Tanev is unbelievable. He had moments where he looked this game to be as good as he's ever been. There's other times you can clearly see when he's trying to do his edges, he can't put the full pressure on the 1 foot, and he's getting beat. And you're asking more from Ryan Suter, who's had an awesome career, but is not the Ryan Suter of Nashville that we know and love, or even the Ryan Suter in his early Minnesota days. And Alex Petrovic, oh boy, I watched him when he was an Oiler for a hot minute, and it wasn't good 6-7 years ago, and it's not great now.
yeah,
Is oh boy. So even when you're not getting the matchups you want, I mean, Connor's at a point right now where I think he just knows how close he is. And that's one thing that people have talked about with him as a player, that when he sees whatever the goal is, it's this single-minded Terminator 2 relentlessness that will not stop. And he's there. And it's both terrifying as a casual watcher of hockey and incredible as an Oilers regular viewer.
yeah, it is really cool. And the way that everything on the ice shifts when McDavid gets the puck in transition, and you just see no, you can't hear it unless somebody's mic'd up, but just from the movements of opposing players, doesn't matter who the team is, doesn't matter who the player is. There's always this oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. This moment where like you see him coming at you and you're like, I don't know what to do, because there's so many things that he can throw at you just to get through. It's got to be terrifying for defensemen. And the level of dominance, like I noticed earlier in the series that it was very clear that the Stars were trying to keep out at least one of Lindell, Tanev, and Heiskanen against McDavid all series long. And the fact of the matter is, it hasn't mattered who they put out against him. He's, in terms of expected goals in the series over 5 games, he's carried 56.2% against Esa Lindell, 58% against Chris Tanev, 66.6% against Jason Robertson. The Stars have had no answer for McDavid's ability to tilt the ice, which brings me to Edmonton's depth, which is the kind of issue that they have if they have something to battle through over the next little stretch here against the Stars, because the depth, if you look at it tonight, got really beaten up. It was like the McDavid top end guys that did most of the work for the Oilers, as you would expect. But with McDavid's determination, is there still a chance, do you think, that depth is going to hurt them enough that it will tilt the scales?
I mean, did they give up a goal?
No.
So Yeah, sure. If you want to look at oh no, I'm becoming this guy. Yeah, sure. The numbers show that it wasn't great,
Watch
but
the
ultimately,
games, man.
well, use the eye test, dude. What are you paying attention to? Oh God, I've become everything I thought I hated. It's yeah, when they do get caved in. The thing I do appreciate about the Oilers' depth is that there can be these moments of kind of brilliance and wonder that you see where they can kind of break through. I think Connor Brown's been a great kind of story this series. Going into the playoffs, I was first in line yelling to the heavens that Connor Brown should not be on this roster. Like, put Sam Gagne there, because what's going to happen when Connor Brown touches the puck? Literally nothing. But through this series, you've kind of seen him start to find those flashes of who he was when he had those great years with the Sens, even on those terrible teams. Um, Him and Yanmark have these moments of being able to break through and kind of capitalize. We saw it last game with the shorthanded goals. And tonight they had a couple key moments where even if they're being hemmed in their own zone, they're knocking passes down, they're pushing the puck to the outside. Yeah, Dallas is absolutely controlling the possession, but they kept the puck away from Stewart enough and that's what you have to do. And like, unfortunately, we've seen it too many times now. If you let Stu Skinner face a lot of shots, he's gonna crumble. He's not UC Soros. He's not someone who can take a bajillion shots and just kind of power through. You kind of need to isolate him. And that's one thing that the Oilers depth has done really well that I've really liked to see. I've been really impressed with Corey Perry. And I was worried when he was out for that little bit, when he looked like he had been like I had a dislocated shoulder or something. That was my first thought when he went right down the tunnel in the second period. But even with his limited foot speed, it's been really cool to see him kind of help dictate things in a defensive standpoint. This really great photo though came up, harkening back to 2006 of a young, I think it was a rookie Corey Perry shaking hands with Chris Pronger as the Oilers beat Anaheim to make their way to the Stanley Cup final. And I think Corey Perry's number was 61, which looked weird. So it's very cool now that with him on this team, 20, oh no, doing math, 18 years later, that this team has a chance to make it to another Stanley Cup final on Sunday.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? With Corey Perry, I know it's trendy and has been forever and kind of like a meme to hate Corey Perry because he is a dirty player at times. He's done
Oh,
some.
abject monster. I would not want.
Yes,
I would. Yeah, he's mean and he's dirty and he's occasionally out to hurt people.
100%. But having gone through this same situation where I was covering a team that Corey Perry played on and you watch him day to day. And also, by the way, I do think we deserve to know what happened in Chicago. I feel like that situation
Yeah,
being
yeah. I'm not gonna argue with you
completely
there for sure.
like I feel like we deserve to know before we talk too much about Corey Perry as a player or as a person. But my point was watching him day in day out and watching how he plays the game and how he pushes it forward. Like, it is not a coincidence that Corey Perry is on the verge of going to the Stanley Cup final for the fourth time in the last 6 years.
That's
Like,
obscene.
he
What a ridiculous. That's like Pat Maroon winning 3 cups in 3 years. That's
right
just a silly stat.
with four different teams, and I know Pat Maroon did the same thing or similar too, and also won, I think, like three straight Stanley Cups.
Mhm.
But like, the amount that Corey Perry contributes in these playoff runs is shocking for how small of a role he's in now at this point in his career. Like, he played on the fourth line in Montreal when they went to the final in 2021, and he was incredible. Like there was a goal against the
Oh yeah,
Jets that I
they had
specifically remembered.
the bubble cup.
That's
Oh,
right. Like,
oh.
there was a goal against the Jets I specifically remember where he saw there was a defenseman in front of the net and the guy had elbows up and he was like, I can get the puck across to the other, like my teammate, but I'm going to take an elbow to the face. And you could see it in his face. He just, all right, here I go. And I'm just going to skate right into this guy face straight into elbow to get this puck across. And it ended up being either the game winning goal or the game tying goal. And he did that kind of stuff repeatedly. And I think when you have a veteran guy who's willing to throw their body on the line and do the tough stuff to win, that rolls through the lineup, and it builds that bond that teams have that go on these long runs. I think it's really incredibly important. And I know that this kind of narrative is talked about a lot in hockey media, but watching it happen consistently with one player over and over again, you see why we talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, things become patterns for a reason, right? And I think one of the biggest impacts Corey Perry's had on this Oilers team specifically comes through Dylan Holloway. They play a very similar style. If you look at Corey Perry, when he was fast, he was mean, he did initiate contact, and he could score like a mad person. And Dylan Holloway doesn't necessarily have that same kind of high level skill, but his whole thing since coming to the Oilers was, well, yeah, he's got all the pieces, but he's not quite putting it together. It hasn't kind of coalesced like you really want it to see. And having him play on a line with Corey Perry, they were even working together in practice. I was talking to Oilers play-by-play guy Cam Moon, who's as plugged in as you can get on this team, and he was saying it's been really cool to watch for the playoffs how much time Corey spent with Dylan Holloway and just like kind of showing him how to be successful, especially when the game changes so dramatically like it has and it continues to change through the playoffs. It's that it that pickup has been so sneaky good. I still worry about the foot speed on occasion. But hey, the Oilers still push ahead with guys like Sam Carrick and Vinny Desharnais. When he's in the lineup, he does okay, and he's not exactly fleet of foot. But we're probably not even going to see Vinny because Philip Broberg was great tonight, scoring his goal and has filled into his slot really, really nicely on this team.
He's looked really solid, and a really good story for a guy who's struggled to take that step and seize the moment. Seizing it now would be absolutely massive for his career.
When it's too bad. There's a little bit of like organizational, I don't want to say fumbling, but there's been a lot of barriers for Philip Broberg to kind of come move up in this lineup. There's always been that kind of second or third pairing left-handed shot that was there to kind of keep him from moving up the lineup like you'd like to see from someone who was drafted where he was drafted ahead of Trevor Zegras, which is just still weird to say out loud.
It's a stunning one.
Yeah, that was a draft for sure. But I mean, hey, if it works out, great. You did perfect. So it's seeing him perform really well has been cool. And he skates so he does not skate like someone who spent this almost his entire year in the AHL. He is unbelievable to watch move around the ice.
Well, hey, Graham, Trevor Zegras has fewer playoff goals than Philip Broberg, so maybe the Oilers were onto something there. We're gonna talk about.
Yeah, but who was on the cover of NHL? Whatever, Andrew.
True, in some nice shorts, I believe. But that was the one where they did like with Sarah Nurse as well, correct?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of knee and calf on that cover though. Oof.
that there was. It was a fun one. They were trying things at least, which is more than you could say for most of the EA releases. Usually it's the same game, kind of update a little.
They exist.
They do. They're a thing that exists that people can play if they want. All right, we're gonna talk about Stu Skinner in a minute, but first I'm gonna let you know where you can find Game Over Ottawa next year. Game Over Ottawa is relaunching in October. So for all of your Ottawa Senators action, reaction, news, analysis, and fun, make sure that you click on the Game Over Network channel right now, open a new tab in this video, scroll past my ugly mug, and click on the Game Over Ottawa channel. Subscribe, and then hit that drop-down menu. Make sure you hit the alarm bell so that you get notified whenever we post a video or go live. Tell all your Sens fans, friends, and family to check out our awesome community, and make sure you smash the like button on this video right into oblivion. Back here with Graham, and Graham, you mentioned earlier that Skinner kind of falls apart if you get too many shots on him, which it's funny that I feel like most goaltenders are the opposite. They want to feel more shots, and I guess maybe not knowing that about Skinner, I was surprised tonight how dialed in he was at the end of the second period through the third period after basically being able to pull out a cot and take a nap for the first 37 minutes or so of this game. I was really, really impressed. Every time the few times the Stars were actually able to manufacture a dangerous looking scoring chance, Skinner was there every time, on top of plays, anticipating well. He didn't look behind the play. I thought he was fighting real hard to get in front of pucks and see pucks. This is what you want to see.
I really think not enough has been talked about the great job Chris Knobloch has done from a lineup standpoint with this team, whether it's been shifting players out, whether it's been sitting Stu for a couple of games. Literally every move that Chris Knobloch has made in this postseason has been has been successful, which I don't know if you can say for a lot of coaches. And him being able to look at Stuart Skinner and go, well, things are getting shaky, especially in that Vancouver series. I mean, I even after game 2 and 3, I was wondering if we'd see Stewart come back just because of how well Calvin Pickard played and how well the team plays in front of him. But I almost wonder if we're starting to see that kind of confidence and maturation grow in Stuart Skinner. I mean, the guy was a second round pick. He is only 25 years old, and he has been in this league for a long time. He worked his way up through the Oilers system in the way that you really want to see a goaltender move their way up through a team's goaltending depth chart. And goalies are weird. Things can get strange. And I'm wondering how much is this him almost starting to like advocate for himself a little bit and be like, hey, I need you guys to do this so I can do this. Which is, I mean, you saw with some of the great goaltenders. I mean, Carey Price was unbelievable, like helping shift people around the ice so he could be in the best position possible to make a save. And you watch Stu, especially in the couple games I've been lucky enough to go to this year, you see him. I've seen him talk more with the defense and more with the team than I can ever remember before. And I think a big part of that is that kind of show of confidence from Knobloch and really helping this guy kind of settle into his own. And I can't, even if he has a bad game on Sunday, I can't imagine a world where in a potential game 7 on Tuesday that he wouldn't be your starter, because he's really dialed in an interesting way that we haven't necessarily seen, and it's been a big team effort to help him be successful.
Yeah, it's been really interesting in this specific situation with Edmonton, which is a extremely talented team with a lot of high-end talent and had a reputation for a long time about not being very good defensively. Got better defensively under Jay Woodcroft, and I believe has gotten better defensively again under Knobloch. And watching Skinner grow as a player over the last couple of years has been really interesting. You had his rookie season, which was really, really strong, and then really struggled in the playoffs. And that struggle seemed to carry over into the beginning of this year. And I know a lot of people were like, "Is this guy even good? Like, did he just have a good run as a rookie?"
Totally.
And then he finds his game, right? And over the course of the year, he starts playing better and better as the season goes on. Hit the playoffs, and you get hit again. And I look back at that decision now by the coaching staff to sit him, and I remember at the time thinking like, this is real risky because now you've got Pickard. You got to kind of run with Pickard because you've undercut your young goaltender pretty early. But now, based on how he went back to him, not because Pickard was terrible or anything like that, just it was time to go back to Skinner. He had to have the confidence that he could take Skinner out and not shatter him,
Mm-hmm.
which speaks a lot to, I think, how the coaching staff view him and his mental toughness, which is one of the biggest parts of being a goaltender in the NHL, is being able to tackle the worst moments and keep going and keep playing. So I've built a lot of respect for Stu Skinner over this playoff run.
Oh yeah, and I mean, goaltenders are so interesting because there's no other position like it in sport. You kind of have sort of two archetypes of goalie. You have goaltenders that'll go the the Patrick Waugh, Mike Smith, gonna run on spite and rage type of vibe, or the Carey Price, Ken Dryden. I'm just pulling out Habs players for you now. Even uh uh even like Thatcher Demko, who's when he gets dialed in is very, very steady and calm. They're kind of unshakable. And I think you're starting to see that from Stu Skinner in a really cool way. I mean, I I will feel more comfortable probably when he has a few less hectic moments. I mean, even last game there was a couple time where I just like wanted to yell, but please just stay, just go to the blue paint, stay where it's blue. Blue is
Keep it
safe.
simple.
Blue is comfortable. Be in the blue. But you give him a sec, he dials it back in. You get a little less of the bungee cord goalie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even the goalies who are known for having good puck handling skills, when they go out on adventures, it can sometimes not be pretty. So
I will say, I did say to my partner tonight when we were watching, I was like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but for pure entertainment, I kind of miss Mike Smith because it was just kind of fun. You didn't know what was going to happen. It was like going and doubling down on the casino when you have no money left every time, and it's fun. You just don't sleep for weeks, and that's fine.
Mike Smith, one of the only goalies that I can think of that could allow like a center ice goal in the playoffs and win that game.
Oh God, don't remind me. Don't remind me.
Against the Flames too. That was a wild series. All right, coming up. We're going to talk about the rest of the series and the rest of the playoffs for Edmonton. Hopefully, going into the Stanley Cup final here, chance to win it at home on Sunday. But first, I got to tell you about where you can find Game Over Winnipeg next season. Game Over Winnipeg is broadcasting from the Game Over Network channel for right now during the playoffs. However, in October, the network relaunches for real, and Game Over Winnipeg gets its own channel. So for all of your Winnipeg Jets content, fun, news, and analysis, head on over to the Game Over Winnipeg channel from the Game Over Network channel. Open it in a new tab right now, scroll past my ugly mug, all the way down, and click on the Winnipeg channel from our featured channel section. Click subscribe, and make sure you hit that reminder bell so that you get notified whenever we post a video or go live. Tell all your Jets fan friends and family to come check out our awesome community. We promise they won't regret it. And make sure on this video you smash that like button right into oblivion. And we are back. So Edmonton is in a incredible position here, in my opinion, because I think whenever you're looking at a playoff series, it's a short stretch, these 7 games. Anything can happen. Any team can beat any other team. We've seen crazy upsets in the past. So when one team is, leading like, oh, this one important metric by like, a 55% margin, like that just isn't enough to tell you they should or will win a series. But when after 5 games, Edmonton is leading like essentially every possession metric at 5-on-5, and in all situations, they're leading in terms of high danger chances, expected goals, all these different, like everything lines up, pretty much everything favoring Edmonton. They're going home. They have 2 chances to close this out. Graham, where is your confidence level with how they're playing in this series so far and the position that they now find themselves in?
Ooh, I am cautiously optimistic. I will still preface every conversation I have over the next couple days with if we are lucky enough to make the final. Because I am an Oilers fan, and every time things seem okay is when the universe shows up and go, oh no, no, no. Remember those picks we gave you when you thought you were fine? Guess you're not fine. Here's some sadness. So I'll never be fully comfortable, but I can say this is the best I have felt about an Oilers team in my entire adult life. The beauty and the magic of the '06 run was that this team has no business being here. Chris Pronger, who is the best defenseman in Oilers history, I am going to die on this hill. Even though he wasn't here long, he was the best defenseman this team has ever had. he between him just hauling that team to the final against Carolina, that was cool. This time I was trying to think of like the similarities between this team and that team, just in terms of like what I remember about certain performances. And every player that should have a story on this team has one. You have Connor being unbelievable, Leon being a literal terminator in the number of points he can put up over his time in the playoffs. We have Evan Bouchard, who's scoring 25 points in 17 games for a defenseman. Excuse you? That's a
He's
real
also
stat?
the third fastest defenseman in NHL history to hit 50 points
Astonishing. Just truly
in the
jaw
playoffs. Sorry.
dropping. And I'm going into this series, there was a lot of people, and I think a lot of it was a lot of narrative, maybe because I just saw a lot of salty Canucks fans on my feed. It was, Dallas had to beat Vegas. They had to beat the other team who I'm breaking names on because my brain is fried from playoff hockey. They've had to beat better teams than Edmonton. Edmonton only had to beat us in LA, so they're clearly going to get wrecked. And I think there's just so many cool stories to talk about this team that it 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 feels like cautious optimism is okay rather than just assuming, well, you know what, this is all going to go to hell eventually, so let's enjoy it while we can. Because the series after we beat the Flames a couple years ago, I didn't do anything, I was just there. After the Oilers beat the Flames a couple years ago, that was the Stanley Cup. That was the Stanley Cup because it was Calgary, it was Kachuk, it was Gaudreau, and now we get to play Colorado, who is Colorado. Well, this was fun. 4-game sweep. Good night. Off we go. And there's genuine, legitimate hope that like this could be a Stanley Cup winning team that doesn't feel crazy to say out loud anymore.
Yeah, it is really cool, honestly. And I do want to ask a couple more questions of you of this team. But first, I got to remind everyone that after this segment, we will do a short press conference. If you're here live and want to ask us any questions to contribute to the stream as well. Luke Venables actually had a very interesting point here. He said, the craziest thing to start the season is it was very reasonable to believe that Edmonton wasn't even going to make the playoffs this year. And I saw another person make this point earlier on Twitter that I think it was maybe Wood Guy, that the Oilers were 31st in the NHL 200 days ago.
Yep. We were 1 point above. Who would have been last place? Probably Chicago. And we had just lost to San Jose and were 12 points away from the playoffs. Which, doesn't sound like a lot, but like early in the season, 12 points is a chasm when you have so many teams to jump. And this team looked rudderless. It looked like a mess. Connor was going to leave and go play in the Tampa in a couple years, and Leon was going to go to Boston, and it was going to be just Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Zach Hyman and a bunch of guys trying to barely make the playoffs. Welcome to the 1995 through 2005 Edmonton Oilers. We'll just do our best and hope it works out. And then this team goes thermonuclear and rips off 16 wins in a row, 24 out of 27 wins, I think it ended up being, before that chunk kind of ended.
And I feel like when you have a team like this that has been in a position where they want to win for a good stretch now, and now you have this season where you've gone from almost worst to first, and you were talking about Vancouver fans saying like the Edmonton hasn't beaten like tough teams. I think that really undersells LA. Like LA's really damn.
Edmonton, I think, is just built to beat LA. The teams do not match it. It's if you're a Formula One guy, it's like watching a Red Bull go up against an Alpine. They're just not in this. They're not meant to compete with one another.
It's like Toronto, Boston, right?
Yeah. It's never gonna happen. Sorry, Toronto, you're just not built that way.
It's never ever gonna happen. And then you have Vancouver, and Vancouver's not, like, heading into the season, Vancouver was not a caliber of team that we expected to be even in that position, right? Even
Rick
in the playoffs.
Did such a good job, though. Man,
Yeah,
Rick
but
Tocchet deserved that
they were a
Jack
team
Adams.
of destiny, right? And I think when you beat a team that looks like a team of destiny, that team that just has the golden stick from day one of the season, and they go from being bad but scoring at will and having Thatcher Demko save everything
Mhm.
to finding their game and becoming a good team over the course of the season and continuing to get that incredible goal scoring luck and continuing to win when they don't, and finally running into a powerhouse team that's expected to win and not choking.
Yeah.
Like actually getting the job done. I feel like that is such a rallying moment for a team like these Edmonton Oilers. And I know that it's been a tight series against Dallas. Like the overall gap in like goals and expected goals is not large, but I feel like Edmonton has been in control this whole time.
Yeah, with the exception of a couple games for sure. I mean, I was just like a natural stat trick. Yeah, the expected goals for game five, 1.75 to 1.36. That's not a wide margin, even though the Oilers won by a pretty healthy margin tonight. It's I, I almost wonder sometimes as kind of hockey nerds and lovers that we almost get caught in the trap of forgetting that these are the final four teams who are all unequivocally awesome. That's why they're the final 14. Everyone's really,
Yeah.
really, really good. But it's fun to pick things apart. It just is. That's why we have jobs.
Exactly.
So it's these teams are so good. These teams are so close. I spoke to Camu on my radio show earlier today, and I think we're gonna be back for game 7. I think we're gonna be back here in a couple days, and I won't be shocked. I would feel okay going into that game if we do lose game 6. But based on how the Oilers were able to completely shut down and lock things down defensively against LA when they needed to after losing their one game, after the able to go against the Canucks and take game 6 and 7 and completely lock those teams down. Dallas has more depth for sure. You're gonna ask a little bit more from everyone, but seeing how things are coalescing together, I think the Oilers' strength is going to come from being a cohesive defensive unit when they want to play that way. Of course, now we've said it. There's a solid 50-50 chance that's gonna show up and be, oh boy, let's fire all these passes right up the middle and wait for Connor to do something awesome. But yeah, I got more hope. I got more hope than I have previously.
Yeah, I honestly hope that the Oilers finish it off in 6 here because I just want to see what happens in that arena to win on home ice to go back to the Stanley Cup final. There's something so special about seeing that happen on home ice. It's like a cup win, of course, as well.
Is the
But
dream, yeah.
yeah, the jubilation, it's almost as good to get to the Stanley Cup final as to win the cup for like the crowd noise, right? Because it's the anticipation of what can be,
Yeah. Well,
right?
that's
Whereas when
that's
you win the cup, it's almost there's a relief as well to it.
I'm gonna look to the NFL for this one because I prefer conference final championship games to the Super Bowl because no matter what you are at the top of the world. You have it's like it almost feels like day one of the season again, where all you have is just unfettered hope. And that level of jubilation is different for sure. I love that. I love that example you use. So man, winning it at home, winning the conference championship at home would be really cool. It'd be something special. I've been lucky to see like a team that I deeply love win a championship on home turf before, and it is the coolest feeling in the world. And if that happens, downtown Edmonton will not stop. Like I live, about a like a 10-minute cab ride from my house to Rogers. I can hear everything when the Oilers win. And if the Oilers make it to the conference final, I'm probably not going to be able to go to bed until about 3 in the morning when the honking will stop, which is not great for someone who has to be on the radio starting at 6.
Yeah, I hear that. I used to live pretty close to the Bell Center, and anytime I needed to get to sleep in the playoffs, it was not easy. But you know what? It was pretty cool to just feel the energy of the crowd come down the street too, which was always fun. Like I kind of miss that, but I don't really miss living downtown. I like my quiet spot with my family now.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'm happy to be far enough away that I can like avoid a lot of the spice, but like it's still cool. It's great when you're like 25 and
Exactly.
don't need to be functional the next day.
Or you can have crappy sleeps at 25 and still be functional
Oh
the
yeah,
next
and
day.
still
A
and
little bit
still
less
get
in your 30s.
and still get up and do your job like everything's fine. No, not
Yeah.
anymore. Thanks, Bones.
Thanks, age, stupid gravity, and bad diets, and all that stuff. Anyway, let's do a little bit of a press conference here, but before we get into that, make sure that you like this stream and subscribe to the Game Over Network because it really will help us. And the only way to grow and defeat these evil algorithms that control our lives is for you to help us out as viewers and fans of the show. So if you like the show, please like it, please subscribe, please tell your friends about it. Please go subscribe to the Game Over Edmonton channel as well. And if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, the Game Over Toronto channel also needs your help. Here is Lauren Williamson to tell you about it.
Game Over Toronto is broadcasting from the Game Over Network channel for the playoffs, but in October, the network launches for real. For all your Game Over Toronto content, make sure you subscribe to our Toronto-specific YouTube channel. Open the Game Over Network YouTube page in a new tab from this video, scroll past the bald guy talking, and click on Game Over Toronto channel in our featured channels section. Click subscribe and make sure you hit the drop-down menu to get notified when we post videos or go live. Tell all your Maple Leaf fan friends and family to check it out, and make sure you smash that like button.
All right, we are back to look at some questions here. Luke Venables had some good ones. He's a Leafs fan from Australia, actually, so thanks for joining us, Luke, all the way from Australia. It says, as a Leafs fan, it must be so nice to see everyone step up when it matters. Who knows how this series ends, but these guys have been so much more competitive and gritty when they need to be. Yeah, it's a big difference. I saw a couple of Leafs fans saying the big difference between the Oilers and the Leafs is like McDavid, Bouchard, and Draisaitl are all playoff killers. And
Yeah, that's fair. It's
yeah,
I will say like I'm past it's almost a meme. I mean you're from this part of the country, like it's a meme to hate Toronto.
yeah.
It's just what you do. And I'm kind of past that point. I genuinely feel bad. I would like the Leafs to be good. Sorry, I know you're a Habs fan, but it's just more fun.
Listen, I would like every team that we cover to be good so that we can have more cool stuff to do.
Ooh,
Honestly,
that's that I own a media company attitude coming through.
100%. Like I would have never thought that I'd be cheering for like the Ottawa Senators, but now I get to know like Charlie and Maud who do Game Over Ottawa, and I love them
good.
so much that I want them to be happy. Stupid making friends with people. I don't want this. I want to be a hater.
It's the worst. You're gonna end up like a CFL fan where you just want everyone to be happy.
So
yeah,
Canadian.
It's so cool to see your best players to be your best players. It's really fun. It's awesome. Like Max Domi's cool. Yeah, you look at you go with your tinted visor and blue eyes. That's rad. I'm happy for you. It's more fun to see your best player go, oh, the puck, it's mine now. Get wrecked.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. All right, I'm gonna throw this at you as well. Pete DeBoer had a bit of a moment today.
I'm so happy. I saw this. I was like, oh, I hope we talk about this.
Oh yeah, we have to talk about it a little bit. And I forgot to mention Darnell Nurse earlier, so we'll circle back on that as well. But Pete DeBoer, I guess somebody questioned the Stars' character for how they played tonight. And I don't think it's a character problem. I think it was a tactical problem.
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't that team is full of both very good veterans and very good young players. I don't think there's a cancer in that locker room.
No, to me, it seemed like it was a coaching decision to play like very conservative for the last couple of games here. And they're so afraid of allowing Edmonton to get through, like opening it up and allowing Edmonton to get through the middle of the ice, that they're killing their own ability to produce offense. Like we talked about the margins tonight being thin, part of the reason for that is that the Stars just clogged the neutral zone completely for long stretches of the game and didn't push.
I think that's a really, really, really astute. When you're constantly afraid of the counterattack, like we saw a couple games ago. I mean, that's why the Oilers scored on transition every single time they were able to go off the ice. And when you have that fear of what to do if something goes wrong, I understand where you're going for, but you can't take away the things that make your team as good as they can. So when asked about this team character, when Pete DeBoer replies, "Go ahead and write whatever the fuck you want," that tells me that he's doing great. That he's doing fine as a coach and is not bothered or concerned.
Yeah, I have two ways of looking at that. I see it as a guy reacting emotionally in a raw moment when you're facing elimination now, and like some vulnerability there, and like the cracks showing, or it could be a coach
taking pressure off his team.
Yeah, exactly. He's making himself the story, right? Trying to put the focus on him because, frankly, his team did not perform well.
Yeah, didn't he do that? I feel like he did something really similar when a couple years ago when the Sharks got that ridiculous 5-minute, or whoever got that penalty, was against Pete's team, and he went off on it a little bit, and I feel like it took a lot of the pressure off the team.
He was accused of like shit talking players on the opposing team as a coach, and Gerard Gallant like said this in front of media.
Yeah,
that like their coach was trash talking players. And he was like, "This is unprofessional," and that was like, I think that was the big fight in that one. But it does seem like Pete DeBoer likes to throw himself out there once in a while and kind of take the arrows. So I do wonder if there's a bit of cagey veteran coach.
I mean, I could see it. Pete DeBoer's been around a long time, and I mean, even when he was a coach back in New Jersey with a young Adam Henrique and a Hart Trophy winning Taylor Hall, he's been around the block. I wouldn't be shocked if it's him being cagey, but I don't know. These are all grown men who can be all kind of babies at times. So like solid 50-50.
Yeah, and there is a fair amount of like trying to control narratives and stuff, and gamesmanship being played here and there from coaches. But I think some of that is also like after the fact, like results based backwards analysis. Like
totally.
And you know, if they get blown out by Edmonton on Sunday, then we won't be talking about Pete DeBoer's masterful shielding of his team from the media, right? That narrative only happens if Dallas plays well next game.
I'd like to give some kind of sideways love to DJ Bean, who quoted that quote and simply asked, "Why are you so pissy, Pete?"
It's just a game.
It's just why you have to be mad? It's only a game.
We're
mixing up quotes now, but God, I'm still upset. So this is my level of Oilers fan nerdism. I got a custom made Ilya Bryzgalov Oilers jersey. It was my favorite. Every time I went down to a game in Calgary, it always got comments, and someone stole it out of my car on the last playoff run, and I'm still not emotionally over it.
That's awful. That
some weird guy has a Bryzgalov jersey in Edmonton and number 80, and I'm still grumpy about it.
Oh God. All right, we got one last one here from Luke, who's got another good question, and then we'll close it out for the night. This is a fun game to watch, and it's been awesome here with you, Graham. Luke says, would most fans of other Canadian teams get any pleasure out of just seeing the cup come back to Canada? You all seem to hate each other so much. Yeah, I think that's a very boomer thing. I think like the very nationalistic, I want the cup to come home to Canada thing. I don't know if it exists in the younger generations. I think one of
my friends, I love him deeply. He's a big time Canucks fan. We have a standing agreement that we do not talk about hockey because we invariably get mad at each other and it's not worth it. So we'll talk about all of the NHL with the exception of the Oilers and Canucks. We don't touch it. So I think it's much more regional. I happily never watch the Canucks win. I will happily watch the Flames fail. I would be super stoked if the Jets won. I'd be stoked if the Habs or the Sens won. I'd even be happy for the Leafs. Vancouver and Calgary can eat a butt. I don't. Be terrible forever.
Oh, Avery's in here. He says Boston pizza stock might crash over this.
Oh no, what's Jim gonna do? I mean, props to BPs. We were talking about it. I think it was after last game in Edmonton when BPs clearly paid some people to dress up like the folks from the commercials to put them in the stands. Like, all right, that's funny, Jim. You spend your money however you want, you weird man.
It's an interesting marketing strategy. I don't know how well that speaks to like the mass Canadian populace, but hey,
we're talking about it, so it's doing something right.
Yeah, I guess so. That's Avery's fault, bringing up Boston pizza.
Yeah, geez, Avery, way to turn this about marketing.
Yeah, for me, it's always been like as far as Canadian teams go. Obviously, Montreal first. I can't bring myself to cheer for Toronto. Like I'll be happy for my many Leafs fan friends if they do well.
I think that's the thing. I will never cheer for them. You want people you like to be happy.
Exactly. Ottawa, I can't do it. Too many annoying interactions with Ottawa.
Interesting.
I grew up in Saskatchewan and Alberta, so like Edmonton was my dad's team. So I've always had a little bit of a thing for Edmonton, and I grew up in Moose Jaw when Ryan Smith was playing there. So I watched Ryan Smith on the Warriors growing up, and then he got drafted to Edmonton. So there's a connection there.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
Calgary for me has always been like they're there. Like if something happened with them, I'd be like happy for them, but I don't have any good or bad association with them. They're kind of just a neutral team, which makes sense because for the last 20 years they've been completely mediocre in every possible way.
I want the Flames to be good so bad. I really do. I can't bring myself to cheer for them. My best friend in the world loves the Flames to the moon and back. I will be happy for him, but like, yeah, I can't. Calgary's so. I will give Flames fans credit on this one thing though. When the Flames are terrible, they don't show up, and you can get a ticket at the Saddle Dome for $14. I once got to see Jaromir Jagr and the Florida Panthers play at the Saddle Dome for $14 to sit in the upper bowl, not in the press level, like way up high, the upper bowl, because the Flames were so bad and people just didn't show up. So props to Flames fans for doing that because their owner sucks. Murray Edwards, blah.
Yep.
And this is the thing I both love and loathe about Oilers fans is that we can be terrible and directionless, and there will be people selling out that building every single night.
Edmonton is a lot like Toronto in that way, right? Is that there's enough money and enough people interested in it that it almost doesn't matter how bad it can get. Even in the darkest times in Edmonton, there were still sellouts, right? And the 50-50s were league highs. You know, there's so much passion in that market, and that's why, like, in terms of the Jets, right? I don't really particularly like the Jets. I wanted to cheer for them this year because I love Tyler Toffoli and Sean Monahan.
Super fair.
But I also love the loudness and intensity of the crowd in Winnipeg. Yeah. And seeing them, get back into that mode this year after having the lack of sellouts during the season and the fear about it was really cool. And Vancouver, I can't even explain why. I always hated them. I've just always hated Vancouver. There's something about the Canucks. I like the skate jersey, but I don't like that franchise. So, but I have a lot of good Canucks fan friends now. So, like, again, when they win, I'm happy for them.
I have a couple coworkers who I love deeply. One in particular, if you're on Canucks Twitter, you've seen Elise Anderson's posts. She loves the Canucks to a point where I worry about her well-being on occasion. And I am happy when she is happy and having a good time. She has helped me like certain things about that franchise. But man, there is this subsect of Canucks online fan base, and like Oilers have it too, but there's just something about it extra when it's the Canucks that just crawl out of this sludge, like Argon, the monster of evil from Next Gen, Which I just can't. I can't deal with it. I don't like it, and it's gross. But like, I don't know. I just want the Oilers to win. I don't care if we play Florida. I don't care if we play New York. Although the Matthew Tkachuk coming back to Edmonton would be awesome. That
Oh,
would
man.
rule.
Oh, I think I lost you there, Graham. You're frozen on Zoom. So you know what? I'm going to say good night tonight for the stream. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please smash that like button. As the YouTubers say, subscribe to the Game Over Network. Subscribe to Game Over Edmonton in particular. If you go to the Game Over Network channel and scroll all the way to the bottom and click Game Over Edmonton, thank you so much to Graham for joining us here tonight. It's going to be a good one on Sunday. The Edmonton Oilers can advance to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time since 2006. And if that's not cool, I don't know what is. We'll see you there.